Okay, good morning and welcome to CSO Parker. I am Dr. Vern Martin, the president of the board. Save the applause for David, come on. Anyway, I'm so excited this morning. Oh, because we have a new microphone. Well, you know, I have been studying and very intrigued by this thing we call energy for a long time. And I am convinced that in the last period of time, I don't know time as we know it too much anymore. But what I know is that there's been a huge magnet between Denver and Texas. And that magnet has been drawing this person to us, and it has drawn you to our center this morning. I'm absolutely delighted to welcome each of you. And now, are you ready, Janice? I am so proud, so excited, so humbled to introduce the new minister of CSL Parker, Reverend David Howard.
So I am humbled by the welcome and by you embracing me and welcoming me with that beautiful standing ovation. And yes, it's been an interesting journey. You'll hear more about that a little bit later. But let's start off this morning with a song. How about that? Sing along if you know it, stand up, move, whatever it is you feel like doing. Just let the Spirit move you this morning. Is this me or is this you?
It's us.
What's next? Okay. Oh, it's me.
Yeah, so cute.
Do I use this mic or the other mic?
Yeah, you don't use that.
All right. I'm not sure of the order of service yet, so here we are. I just want to say, I love that song, My Soul is Welcome Here, and I want to say to you today that your soul, your body, your mind, your emotions, every aspect of that which you are
is welcome here. And that is why we are here together. To come together as community and to create a safe, and welcoming, and loving space so that we can bring our whole selves into this place, into this community, and to celebrate together. So I welcome you. Thank you for being here today. And thank you for welcoming me once again. It's been an interesting journey to get here. As Dr. Burns said, it's been one of those things where energy, spirit, God, source, life has just brought us all together. I'm excited about our journey together, and I'm really excited to see some new faces. I'm excited to see some faces I've known for quite a while, and thank you. It touches my heart. If you get to know me, you'll know that I can cry at the drop of a hat, but it touches my heart that you're here. It really, really means a lot to me, so thank you for being here today. So let's do that. Let's greet each other and welcome each other into this place. You can do that with a hug, a handshake, a bow, whatever feels really good to you, right? All right, so let's do that now.
My other job this morning is I am the announcer, and it would really help if I knew what I was supposed to announce. I'll tell you one thing, we are so delighted. You know, we think we're excited about having Reverend David here. Next Sunday, we are having one of our favorite music people, Laura Berman, come be with us. And Laura's been here a couple times before, and she sold a ton of CDs when she was here, and she is dynamic. So she'll be with us next Sunday, one Sunday in May, and then she'll be with us full-time starting June 1. As you know, she's very talented and very popular and very busy, so she had to take time to clear her schedule to be with us also. So we are thrilled with whatever we get, and I want to make sure I invite all of you to stay after the service for our potluck and time to welcome and greet each other, get to know new people, and also get more acquainted with Reverend David if you'd like to do that.
As you can see, we are very flexible here. So the reading for today is from the Book of Awakening by Mark Nepo. And it's a book of daily readings, and this is from March 30th. He starts with a quote from Rumi. "Do not seek any rules or method of worship. Say whatever your pained heart chooses." Now he goes on to say, "Mana is a term originally used in Polynesian and Melanesian cultures to describe an ordinary power or force residing in a person or an object, a soft spiritual electricity that charges anyone who touches it." Carl Jung later defined the term as the unconscious influence of one being on another. What Jung speaks to is the fact that the energy of being real has more power than outright persuasion, debate, or force of will. He suggests that being who we are always releases an extraordinary power that without intent or design affects the people who come in contact with such realness. The beautiful and simple truth of this can be seen in looking at the sun. The sun, without intent or will, or plan or sense of principle, just shines thoroughly and constantly. By being itself, the sun warms with its light, never withholding or warming only certain things of the earth. Rather, the sun emanates in all directions all the time, and things grow. In the same way, when we are authentic, expressing our warmth and light in all directions, we cause things around us to grow. When our souls, like little suns, express the light of who we are, we emanate what Jesus called love and what Buddha called compassion, and the roots of community lengthen. In this way, without any intent to shape others, we simply have to be authentic, and a sense of mana, of spiritual light and warmth, will emanate from our very souls, causing others to grow, not towards us, but toward the light that moves through us. In this way, by being who we are, we not only experience life in all its vitality, but quite innocently and without design, we help others be more thoroughly themselves. In being real, in staying devoted to the energy of realness, we help each other grow toward the one vital light.
So as we begin to move into a time of going within, meditation, I invite you to close your eyes and take a breath as we lead in with a song. Again, if you feel like singing along, sing. If you just feel like sitting there and feeling the energy of the song, do that. Allow yourself to have the experience of the divine in you in this moment, in the stillness. In the stillness of this moment, there is peace, there is peace. In the stillness of this moment, there is peace, there is peace. And I rest and trust and breathe and know that in the stillness of this moment, there is peace. In the stillness of this moment, there is peace. There is peace. In the stillness of this moment, there is peace. There is peace. And I rest, and I trust, and I breathe, and I know that in the stillness of this moment, there is peace. So as you sit and breathe and rest, trust and know, allow yourself to feel the support of the chair. Feel your feet connected to Mother Earth. As you breathe in the energy of life, life that is animating your body, life that is breathing you, life that is meeting your heart, the life that is having its life in and through and as you discern. And in the stillness of this moment, allow your mind to rest a bit. Allow yourself to breathe deeply into your heart. For it is in the heart space that we make that conscious connection with life, spirit, source. And as we connect in the heart, allow yourself to surrender everything that you may have brought in with you today and just be here now, in this very moment, as you recognize the power and the presence of the one life that connects us, one with each other, one with all creation. Allow yourself to feel that connection with those seated beside you, in front of you, behind you. Allow yourself to feel the energy of this space, this community. And know, and we know, that Spirit is moving, doing its perfect work in this moment, in every moment, as we open, as we allow, as we claim it, as we open to receive all the good that is ours in every moment. And so in this space of conscious union, conscious connection with that divine life energy, we claim our oneness. We claim that we are each individuated expressions of all that that life is: love, joy, peace, prosperity, beauty, harmony, order. And we see that manifesting in our lives in every moment. And in that space, we allow that great fullness to arise within us. And we give thanks. And we know, and we claim that it is our truth. It is done as we accept it and as we claim it and as we make it so. And as we breathe in together, we say, and so it is. Amen. Where you can always go. Come with me. Where it's all right to let your feelings show. Come with me. What a pleasant journey. Isn't very far. We can go together. Stay right where you are. Now it's time to start. It's right here in your heart. There is a place where you can be yourself. Come with me. And it's a place where you can free yourself. Come with me. Waiting, not so far away. Need no reservations. We go today. Now it's time to start. It's right here in your heart. And the light shines through each window, and the door is open wide, and each question has an answer if you'll only look inside. There is a place where every sorrow ends. Come with me, where every hope and every truth begins. Come with me. What a pleasant journey, isn't very far. We can go together, stay right where you are. Now it's time to start. It's right here in your heart. Now it's time to start. It's right here in your
Thank you. And Dr. Verne did say about introducing Jay, and I apologize, I got so caught up in the energy of the morning, I did not introduce Jay. Jay is my husband, and yeah. And I said to him one day recently, I said, hey, I have this great idea. How about we do music together on my first Sunday at CSL Parker? He was like, oh, okay. No, he didn't do that. He really didn't do that at all. He said, yeah, that would be great. And so I appreciate you for being willing to do this and being here today and supporting this new venture. He's always supported everything I've ever done. For the past 22 plus years. So yeah, right here in your heart. You know, when I was here back in December, it's been 4 months ago. It's hard to believe it's been that long. I was here back in December, I spoke about the power of belonging. And how important it is for us as human beings to belong to something that is bigger than ourselves. Knowing that we do, in fact, belong to something bigger than ourselves, in truth. But in our human journey, it's also really important for us to know that we belong to something, to community. That we know that we're accepted and loved and appreciated, and that we are free to express ourselves in some way. So, because it really is a very core human need. It's in our DNA. I mean, if we didn't belong at some level, we were threatened, right? So we belong. It's important to belong. Because our very life at some level, we believe, depends on that. And in some ways it does. I do believe that we, as a human family, I don't like the word need, but it's important for us to recognize that we do belong to each other. Because I do believe our very survival at some level depends on it. But on a personal note, what I want to say about belonging is that it feels to me like I belong here. Mm-hmm. That you have opened your arms to me, your hearts to me, your board back in December, and since then have been very welcoming and inviting and not pushy. But, no, not that at all. But how important it is for us to know that we belong. And I just want to say that, again, I really appreciate that. And so I want to be a part of something like that. I have been longing for a place to belong and for a community that is really intentional about that. And a community that is really intentional about connecting to spirit, to life, to source, to God, whatever word you choose to associate with that energy that is everywhere, everything. It matters not what you call it, the divine, the one, that we're intentional about the connection with that, whatever that is for you. That we're intentional about connecting with ourselves. Connecting with ourselves so that we can connect with each other authentically. That we can create this feeling and belonging and authenticity and coming together in community to support each other in recognizing and realizing our own divinity and our own gifts and our own talents, and then coming together in community to share that. And then to go out into the world and do something with that. So our connection to ourselves, to spirit, to ourselves, to each other, and to the world. Because we are, I believe, it's not just me. I believe many of us are longing for that, hungry for that. In fact, I don't think you'd be here today if you weren't in some way being called to that. So I'm going to be a part of that. I want to help foster that. I want to support that. So, in service to that, I want to invite you to take a moment, take a breath, close your eyes. Again, we felt into that spirit as we went into our meditation. We connected with that divine life energy. So recall that, claim that, feel it moving in you right here, right now, connecting with the flow of life, and your breath, and your heartbeat. And then take a moment and connect with yourself. The energy that is moving in your thoughts, in your emotions right now. What's moving in you? Without judgment, without trying to change it, without trying to in any way resist it, just be aware of what's moving in me right now, my body. It's important for us to stop and connect. So I'm going to say a word, and I want you to just connect with yourself and what comes up in your mind, in your emotions, in your body when I say this word. Vulnerability. Vulnerability. Vulnerable. Just notice what comes up in your heart, in your gut, in your mind, that you feel. So just take a breath and just notice. Become the observer. Now take a deep breath and open your eyes. So sometimes when I just speak from my own personal experience here. When I think about being vulnerable, when I remember times in my own life when I was really vulnerable, and I go in and I check in with myself about that, sometimes fear can come up for me, dread even, resistance. For me, sometimes it becomes this fight or flight or freeze response that comes up when we think, oh, I don't want to be vulnerable. I don't want to risk being hurt. I don't want to risk being disappointed. I don't want to risk being rejected. Which is part of that vulnerability. So take a moment now, close your eyes again. Check in with yourself. What's moving in you in the moment, in this now moment. So I'm going to say something else. I want you just to be with yourself. What comes up when you hear the word freedom, openness, connection, free-flowing energy, life? How does it feel in your body, in your chest, in your gut, in your mind? Feel into that. Be aware of that. Connect with yourself in that space. And breathe now and open your eyes again. So if you're like me, when I hear that, when I sense that, I feel much more open, much freer, more energy moving in me. Isn't that what we want? Isn't that really what we want, to be in the flow of that life energy? However that is expressing as us. I think we all want that, don't we? Well, I have some good news and some not so good news. The good news is that's who you are. It's the very nature of you as a very spirit and soul and life of the divine having its expression in these human forms. That's who you are. You don't have to go looking for it. And possibly the not so good news is that in order to access that, guess what's required? Vulnerability. Author Brene Brown, and I don't remember which book I got this from, and I apologize for that. She says this: vulnerability is the birthplace of love, belonging, joy, courage, empathy, and creativity. It is a source of hope, empathy, accountability, and authenticity. If we want greater clarity in our purpose, or deeper and more meaningful spiritual lives, vulnerability is the path. How does it feel hearing that? Vulnerability is the path to all of that. And she also describes vulnerability as uncertainty, risk, and emotional exposure. Ooh, yuck. It's that unstable feeling we get when we step out of our comfort zone or do something that forces us to loosen control. How many of you like to have control? How many of you like to have the illusion? We're never really in control, are we? But we like to think we are. So vulnerability, what is it? What does it really mean to be vulnerable? I think it is risky. I think it does open us up to possibly being hurt, possibly being rejected, possibly being laughed at, or misunderstood. Just misunderstood. Vulnerability is about allowing ourselves to be seen, to be known. Because it is in that space of openness, of sharing ourselves, of being real, as Mark Nepo talked about, being real, That we can feel, as I asked you to feel earlier, flowing and open and allowing that Spirit to flow through us, because vulnerability is the birthplace of that. But all too often we're like, ooh, protected, guarded, masked, shielded, because we don't want to be vulnerable. Well, what does that do? It cuts us off. It really is like when we're vulnerable, truly, and believe me, I don't like it any more than you do. But I have experienced that it does open up the flow, the connection between people. Haven't you experienced that when you're really honest and open and want to truly connect with another person? It requires us to be open and vulnerable. And it does facilitate energy, the flow of energy. Yeah? So it's about that. Being real. What is it not? It's not about just sharing your opinion with somebody, or sharing your judgments of somebody, or just saying your criticism of somebody, right? Some people believe that's vulnerable. It may be a vulnerable place to be, but I want to share another quote from Brene Brown. She says, there are too many people today who, instead of feeling hurt, are acting out their hurt. Instead of acknowledging pain, they're inflicting pain on others. Rather than risking feeling disappointed, they're choosing to live disappointed. Emotional stoicism is not vulnerability. Well, I'm changing her word here a little bit. So what she says is emotional stoicism is not badassery. I'm changing it, just for your benefit. Blustery posturing is not vulnerability. Swagger is not vulnerability. Perfection is about the furthest thing in the world from vulnerability. How many of us like that perfectionism thing? Uh-oh. Welcome. Upside down now, isn't it? So what is it not? Well, I'm going to share a story with you a little bit later, but what I want to say about what I believe about vulnerability. And I talked about it already, but to me, true vulnerability asks us to be self-connected. Because when we are not truly self-connected, then we get in that posturing place sometimes about, well, I'm right and you're wrong. Or this is what I think about you. Because you did that, I'm feeling this. That may feel like vulnerability. But what is the purpose of vulnerability? Connection. The flow of energy between you and me. Openness. Life energy being acknowledged in me and in you, and the flow of that between us. And so it's important for us to connect with ourselves. I also think it's important for us to give ourselves self-empathy. What am I feeling? Why am I feeling this? What is going on with me? Where is this familiar to me? What do I need? What do I want? What's not happening for me right now? So self-connection, self-empathy, and compassion and understanding. How many of us are really good at giving ourselves compassion and understanding? Sometimes it's easier to give it to other people, isn't it? But it's important for us to give it to ourselves. Do you see how even that is vulnerable? When we're willing to own our own pain, our own disappointment, our own frustration, our own anger, whatever it
We be vulnerable with ourselves first, rather than acting it out. See how that fosters the connection with others and fosters a strong community. And then to be able to express it, self-expression, is important. But again, to speak from that place, to share from a place of deep self-connection and empathy, compassion, and understanding. Now, here comes the tricky part. It's also about connecting with the other person or the other people. Making ourselves vulnerable. Vulnerable enough to allow the energy to come full circle. To be able to connect with the other person. What's going on with them? To give them empathy and compassion and understanding and to be in the flow of that energy. What we normally do to avoid vulnerability with another person, I know some of you might have done this, I've never done it, but some people like to try to fix it, make it better. Because we're not comfortable in our own being vulnerable to somebody else's pain. And then to be able to hear from them what's going on with them. To listen with an open heart. Especially if they're going to tell you something you really don't want to hear. Right? That's a very vulnerable place to be. A really vulnerable place to be. But I believe if we're going to practice this vulnerability, it has to be all of it. Or else we are just posturing, pretending. So I want to share with you a personal story. Some people think I'll reveal too much about myself, but I can only share from my own experience, right?
Yeah. Right.
So as Dr. Byrne said earlier, some of you know, some of you may not know, probably don't know, that back in the summer of last year, early fall, I applied for and interviewed for and was hired to be the minister at a small Unity church in Dallas. I accepted the job. Jay and I were planning to move there at some point this year. I moved there by myself, temporarily, set up house there. But it was very early into that decision that I realized it was the wrong decision. Well, let me go back. I don't believe that necessarily true. I believe that it wasn't, the energy of it wasn't a fit for me. It wasn't right for me. It wasn't right for them. Truly. And I struggled with that. Because I had made a commitment to them. Right? I struggled with that. And again, did I want to be vulnerable with myself? Did I want to own what was going on with me? Did I want to own my own really some shame and guilt was coming up for me about that? How could you do that? How could you risk hurting them? How could you risk that? How could you do that? So all of that was going on for me, right? So I had the opportunity to connect with myself. What's really going on for me? What do you desire? What is it that's missing? What is it you want? What is it that Spirit wants from you, as you?
And believe me, there were many times that I thought, well, I'll just stay and stick it out. I don't want to be vulnerable enough to say to them, hey, this ain't working. I didn't want to go there. I didn't want to have that conversation. In fact, thoughts went through my mind, I'll just pack up and leave in the middle of the night. So I don't have to have that conversation. Anybody ever been there? I don't want to deal with that. But it came to a point where I recognized that I would be doing more harm than good if I stayed there. And so I did that. I sat with the board president one day, and I just poured my heart out to her. And that was one of the hardest conversations I've ever had in my life. Because she was sitting there, tears running down her face, saying, "You're breaking my heart." Oh, man, that was hard. But what I realized is that being vulnerable, being willing to be honest and vulnerable and open, even though it's not what she wanted to hear, even though it was hard for me to hear her reflection back to me, I felt a deeper connection with her than I ever had before. Because we were real. We were both vulnerable with each other. And I wish that could have been done in one conversation. I'm done, I'm out of here, I'm gone. It doesn't really work that way. So then I got to have the conversation with the rest of the board. More than one. And be totally vulnerable and honest, because I thought, my thing is, I don't like to disappoint people. So, but I can tell you that none of them tried to fix it. None of them tried to make it better. None of them tried to convince me I was wrong. None of them tried to do any of that. They heard me. They gave me empathy and compassion. And again, I felt more connected to them. After that conversation, I really did think, well, maybe I'll just stay. Yeah. Because I felt the connection there. I felt belonging, the community. And see, it just, and there were, even the day that I was going to tell the congregation, I was pacing. What should I say? Should I stay? Should I tell them I'm not leaving? What should I do? And I just turned it over. I said, okay, Spirit, whatever needs to be said today, I will say it. And I was standing up there, getting ready to make this announcement, and I just stopped, and I thought, okay, am I supposed to leave? Am I supposed to tell them I'm leaving? And that's what came out of my mouth. So, vulnerability is not easy, always. It's risky. But does it help to connect us with each other? Yes, I believe it does. It's the birthplace of love, belonging, connection. Should I tell them the other part? No, now, it wasn't that Sunday that I announced at the congregation, but the next Sunday. I was there for a few more Sundays after that. And I spoke about the hero's journey. How we're all on this hero's journey. That was my talk that day. And I was standing at the door greeting people as they walked out, and most people were like, oh, we're going to miss you. Thank you for what you brought here. Thank you for all that you've done here. And this one woman walked up to me and she said, well, I don't think you're a hero. I think you're a coward. How dare you? Don't you care about us? Don't you care about how we feel? How dare you? Whoa. That was hard to hear. Was I vulnerable in that moment? And I did my best to stay present, to give her empathy, to try to do my best to connect with her. She wasn't really in that place. In fact, I heard later she went into the women's bathroom, was throwing F-bombs all over the place. Very upset. So, is that vulnerability? Not in the way that I'm talking about it today. Why? Because it didn't serve connection. She wasn't self-connected. Well, she was connected, I guess, but she wasn't speaking from a place of self-connection. She was she was acting out her hurt, acting out her pain. And that, for her, it might have felt like a vulnerable place to be. It probably was. But we have to go back. We don't have to do anything. If we go back to the purpose of vulnerability, which is to serve connection, to serve openness, to serve the flow of energy between us, then that was not real vulnerability. So I just share that with you, not so you try to fix it for me, or try to make it better for me in any way. I share that with you just as an example. You know? And I'll be honest with you, at that point, I was really not willing to be vulnerable with her. And that's okay. I'm not saying, very important point that I have not said. Vulnerability can really only happen when we feel safe enough for it. And not everyone is going to help create a safe space for that to happen. So don't be going out and trying to be vulnerable with everybody. Because you might. You know, who knows what'll happen. But I think it is important as we come together as a community, as we choose to create a safe space for connection, for authenticity, for a conscious community, that we do create a space, a safe space, safe spaces, for us to be vulnerable with each other, to connect, to share ourselves, our stories, our hurts, our pains, our joys, our celebrations. And in doing that, we build a strong foundation. And I believe that kind of conscious energy does draw into itself other people who, just like you, just like me, are really seeking a place where they can belong, where they can be themselves, where they can be vulnerable. And I believe that's where our intention is. So I think that's all I have to say today. So let's take a moment and really take that in. Breathing deep into your heart once again, connecting with life, God, source, power, right here, right now, present. Grounding yourself in the awareness of that which you are as an individuated expression of the divine. Connecting from that place with your beautiful, perfect humanity. All that that involves, all that is, your expression in this life space. Knowing yourself, connecting with yourself, and opening yourself to the possibility of being more vulnerable in your life. Serving connection, maybe with just one person. Maybe you want to call that person to mind now. Is there something you would love to say that hasn't been said? Something you would love to share with someone that you have been afraid to share? Allowing yourself to feel it, to imagine it, feeling the flow of life energy between you and the other, open, receptive, honest connection. And as you breathe into that, honor yourself for your willingness to step out of your comfort zone, to be a little more vulnerable this week. And in that, we are blessed and we are grateful. And we allow it to be as it is. And so it is.
So it is.
So as we lead into a time of our offering, I invite you to breathe in as we sing, I am open to my good. Join us in that if you don't know it. It's very easy. Hear it once, sing it again. I'm open to my good. I'm open to my good right now. I am open to my good. I am open to my good right now. I am open to my good. I am open to my good. I am open to my good right now. I am open to my good. I am open to my good right now. I am open to my good. I am open to my good. So as you prepare what you're going to share this morning, open your heart, open your mind, open yourself to the abundance, the prosperity that you are. Prosperity that is flowing through you, in you, as you. Know that you are blessed in the giving, and blessed in the receiving, and we are grateful for all the abundance that we enjoy. And so it is.
And so it is.
Open your mind. Open your heart. Release your senses.
heart still. You ain't got a thing to fear. Looks like love is growing here. So take your guard and let it down. Deeper still, till you come unwound. Unbound. You can stop waiting for love to find you. Look inside your heart. Love's already who you are. So lift up your voice. Let it be heard. Tell me your story. Don't you bow a word. 'Cause I think I have been there too. I'm a seeker just like you. You ain't got a thing to fear. Looks like love is growing here. So take your guard, let it down, go deeper still until you come unwound. Unbound. Unbound. Open your mind. Open your heart.
So we all take a moment, feel the energy that is imbued in these gifts and tithes, these offerings that we receive today. The energy that is imbued in the energy, the money, the tithes, the offerings, the gifts that you have given in other ways. We celebrate this flow. We know that we are constantly in the flow of this divine life. In many ways it shows up in our lives. And we are blessed and we are grateful. And so it is. Amen.
So it is.
Oh. So once again, I want to say thank you. It's been a joy just to be here this Sunday. I look forward to next Sunday. I want to just reiterate what Dr. Burns said about Laura Berman being here with us. She'll be here next week. I am so excited to get to work with her. I'm so excited. We met a couple of times. We talked on the phone. And I just so love her energy. And I know she's just going to bless us all. And so I'm so grateful that she was willing. She is very excited too. I want to share that with you as well. She's very excited about coming here and being part of this community. So that's great. I'm really grateful for that. So hopefully you will stick around and have some food. It looks like we've got enough for everybody. Even if you didn't bring anything, please stick around. And let's get to know each other a little bit better. So blessings as you go about this week. Yeah, allowing yourself to be connected to yourself. Allowing yourself to connect with that divine life energy that is you. That is expressing in its fullness, in its totality at every moment. Allowing you to awaken to that. To be vulnerable enough to share that with others and with the world, to risk, to step out, to be all that God, source, life is expressing as you. And we are grateful, so grateful, and so it is, and so it shall be.
So it is.
Amen. Thank you.